Most traders think that reading the tape and catching small price movements is the path to wealth. But Jesse Livermore, who turned $5 into millions, learned the hard way that this approach nearly destroyed him. In 1901, he lost his entire $50,000 stake in a single day by doing everything he thought was right. Today, you'll learn the 3 fatal errors that cost him his first fortune, and the brutal lessons that transformed him from a bucket shop gambler into Wall Street's greatest speculator. Drop a comment right now. What's your biggest trading struggle? Picture this. May 1901, New York City. The stock market is experiencing the wildest boom in American history. 3 million share days, steel millionaires betting fortunes like drunken sailors, John W. Gates, the infamous Bet You a Million Gates, treating the market like his personal casino. And in the middle of this chaos, a 22-year-old kid from Massachusetts thinks he's figured it all out. That kid was Jesse Livermore. He'd been beating bucket shops since he was 14. He could read price patterns like sheet music. He'd built his stake to $50,000, a fortune in 1901. He was young, confident, and completely unprepared for what was about to happen. Here's what most traders do when they find early success. They assume their method works everywhere. Livermore had mastered the art of scalping, jumping in and out of positions for quick profits. In bucket shops, where he was essentially betting against the house on price movements, this worked perfectly. He thought he was beating the market. But he wasn't beating the market. He was beating the shop. It's like learning to sail in a swimming pool and then taking your techniques into the open ocean. The fundamentals seem the same: water, a boat, navigation. But the ocean doesn't care about your pool skills. It operates on forces you haven't encountered yet. When May 9th arrived and the northern Pacific corner exploded, Livermore lost everything in hours. Not because he was wrong about market direction, not because he was stupid, but because he was using the wrong compass in the wrong ocean. He later wrote, "There is only one side to the stock market, and it is not the bull side or the bear side, but the right side." This is the moment that separated Livermore's education into 2 eras, before he understood principles and after. He was about to learn that speculation isn't about predicting the next tick. It's about anticipating what happens in a big way. Let me show you the 3 fatal errors that nearly ended his career before it began. Fatal error number 1, confusing execution speed with market understanding. Livermore thought that because he could read the tape quickly, he understood how markets actually moved. He was catastrophically wrong. Think of the tape as a compass showing you magnetic north. In calm waters, the bucket shops, that compass worked perfectly because you were in a controlled environment. But in the real ocean of the stock market, that compass alone is dangerously insufficient. The tape tells you where prices have been and where they are. It doesn't tell you where they're going or why they're moving. Livermore was navigating by looking at his wake instead of the horizon ahead. Here's where traders get destroyed. They mistake speed of information for quality of understanding. Livermore would watch the tape, see a pattern he recognized, and jump in for a quick scalp. In bucket shops, this worked because fills were instant and the game was simple. You're thinking, I see the pattern, I know what's next, I execute fast, I profit. But in the real market, something devastating happens. By the time Livermore's broker executed his orders on the exchange floor, the market had moved 15 or 20 points beyond what the tape showed. He'd order a sale at 100, thinking he was getting out near the top, but his broker would fill him at 80. The lag between information and execution turned his sure things into disasters. The amateur sees the compass needle move and assumes he knows his position. The professional knows the compass is always telling you where you were, not where you are. The professional does something radically different. He stops trying to catch every ripple and starts reading the tide. Livermore eventually learned that the tape's value wasn't in showing him the next quarter-point move. Its value was in revealing the character of the market's broader movement. Was big money accumulating or distributing? Were the forces behind the move powerful or exhausted? This required a complete mental shift. Instead of asking, what will the next few ticks be? He learned to ask, what is the market preparing to do in a big way? He traded his speedboat for a ship capable of handling the real ocean. Let me show you this disaster in detail. May 9th, 1901. The northern Pacific corner has the entire market in chaos. Livermore sees the opening prices and they're catastrophic. Massive breaks everywhere. Perfect opportunity, right? He starts selling short, expecting to catch bargains on the recovery. But here's what happened. When the tape showed stocks at 100, and he gave orders to sell short, by the time his broker executed those orders in the pandemonium of the exchange floor, those stocks were at 80, 20-point slippage. Then they broke another 10 points, and he thought, I need to cover and go long, these are the bargains I wanted. But when he covered and bought, he paid 15 points more than he intended. In a single day, watching stocks move exactly as he predicted, making what he thought were correct decisions, he lost his entire $50,000 stake. He was right about direction. He was right about the opportunity. But his method, his compass, couldn't handle the ocean's volatility. But tape lag wasn't his only problem. Even if execution had been perfect, Livermore was still playing the wrong game entirely. Because he was committing fatal error number 2, trading individual positions instead of market principles. Livermore was so focused on specific stocks and specific ticks that he completely ignored what the entire ocean was doing. Individual stocks are like ships on the ocean. They can be well built or poorly built, captained skillfully or incompetently, but all of them are subject to the same tide, the general market trend. A brilliant ship with a master captain still sinks if it fights a hurricane. A mediocre ship with an average captain thrives if it sails with a powerful tailwind. The primary trend of the market is the most powerful force in play. Everything else is secondary. The amateur looks at individual stocks in isolation. This stock has a good pattern. That stock broke out on volume. This one looks oversold. They're examining individual ships without checking what the ocean is doing. It seems logical because you're doing analysis. You're being selective. You're not just randomly buying. But here's the trap. During the 1901 boom, Livermore kept getting bearish and selling short. He saw individual stocks that looked toppy. His tape reading said they were extended. And every time he shorted, he lost money. Why? Because he was trying to sail south when the entire ocean was flowing north. The general market trend was overwhelmingly bullish, and fighting it was suicide. The professional asks a different first question. What direction is the tide flowing? Not what looks good, but what is the market's primary trend? Livermore learned that before examining any individual opportunity, you must diagnose the market's overall condition. Is it in a confirmed uptrend, a confirmed downtrend, or confused choppy waters? Only after determining the tide do you look for the best ships to sail. If the market is bullish, you only look for long opportunities. If bearish, only shorts. If confused, you wait. This isn't rigidity. It's alignment with the most powerful force on the board. The professional doesn't fight the tide. He harnesses it. During the 1901 boom, Livermore repeatedly shorted stocks because his tape reading suggested they were topping. Old-timers warned that everyone had gone crazy. But everyone except the old-timers was making money. The market kept roaring higher. Northern Pacific, U.S. Steel, the entire complex surging. Livermore stated it plainly. Every time I sold, I lost money. He'd catch small profits here and there, but gave them back and more by fighting the primary trend. Meanwhile, he stayed long just one stock, Northern Pacific Common. Why? Because his tape reading showed it behaving as if it would go higher. He rode it from 80 to 110, banking 30 points profit and building his stake to 50,000. The irony? The one time he aligned with the trend instead of fighting it, he made his biggest win, but he didn't yet understand why. He thought it was about that specific stock. It wasn't. It was about sailing with the tide. Even if he'd mastered execution speed and learned to trade with the trend, Livermore was still vulnerable. Because fatal error number 3 was the deepest and most expensive lesson of all. Fatal error number 3, confusing constant activity with actual achievement. Livermore was addicted to action. He thought being in the market constantly meant he was playing the game skillfully. He was wrong. Most traders drown not because they can't swim, but because they never stop swimming. They're in the water constantly, thrashing from one opportunity to another, exhausting themselves. Success in speculation isn't about how many trades you make. It's about being positioned correctly when the big moves happen. The ocean doesn't reward constant activity. It rewards being in the right place when the tide turns. Livermore traded in 1,100 shares his very first day in New York, in just 2 hours. Jumping in and out, catching small moves, feeling productive. He lost $1,100. But that didn't stop him because he felt like he was doing something. He was active. He was engaged. He was trading. The trap is psychological. Inactivity feels like you're missing opportunity. Every price movement looks like money you're not making. You think, I have to be in the game to win. So you trade constantly, generating commissions, accumulating small losses, suffering death by 1,000 cuts. The amateur equates motion with progress. The professional knows that most of the time, the correct position is no position. The professional cultivates a different skill entirely, strategic patience. He waits for the setup where multiple factors align. The tide is right, the ship is right, the timing is right. Then he commits size. Then he lets it work. Livermore wrote that he had to learn not to begin to advance until I am sure I shall not have to retreat. This meant developing the discipline to watch and wait, even when opportunities seem to appear constantly. The hardest thing? Doing nothing. But doing nothing when conditions aren't right is how you preserve capital for when conditions are perfect. The ocean gives you maybe 5 or 6 perfect opportunities per year. The amateur takes 50 bad ones. The professional waits for the 5. After the May 9th disaster, Livermore was broke again. He'd been making money, losing it, making it back, a constant cycle. He was living well down the Jersey coast with prosperous Wall Street men. But his winnings couldn't cover both his losses and his lifestyle. Here's what finally broke through. He realized his old bucket shop method was piking bets on what the next few quotations were going to be. It wasn't real speculation. He stated it perfectly. My game was to anticipate what was going to happen in a big way. This wasn't a minor tweak. This was a complete philosophical transformation. From what's the next tick to what's the big move. From constant small trades to patient positioning. From a BB gun firing constantly to a high-power rifle waiting for the perfect shot. He'd been treating speculation like a slot machine when it's actually chess. These 3 errors cost Livermore years and multiple fortunes. But they taught him something that would eventually make him millions. Let me show you how it all comes together. Let's synthesize Livermore's brutal education into a complete framework. His genius wasn't in avoiding these mistakes initially, it was in learning from them systematically. The Livermore transformation framework works like this. It begins with error 1, execution understanding. You must stop confusing speed of information with quality of insight. The tape is a tool, not a strategy. It moves to error 2, principle over position. You must diagnose the market's primary trend before examining any individual opportunity. Trade with the tide, never against it. It demands error 3, strategic patience. You must cultivate the discipline to do nothing until conditions align perfectly. Activity is not achievement. This isn't just a trading methodology. It's a complete mental transformation from amateur to professional thinking. Here's what this really means. The 90% who fail are constantly active, fighting trends, trusting their compass in a hurricane. They're driven by the need to be right on the next move, to catch every ripple, to prove their skill through constant trading. The 10% who succeed have learned to wait. They've cultivated the patience to watch dozens of opportunities pass because the tide isn't right. They see the same volatile market, and instead of jumping in frantically, they ask, is this the big move? Is the tide with me? Am I using the right weapon? This system transforms speculation from gambling on ticks into anticipating major moves. It is a methodology that separates those who treat the market like a slot machine from those who treat it like a strategic campaign. Now, let me be clear. This transformation isn't easy. Livermore himself went broke multiple times learning these lessons. He wrote, "It took me longer to get that general principle fixed firmly in my mind than it did most of the more technical phases of the game. This framework will not make you rich overnight. What it will do is teach you to stop drowning in constant activity and start positioning yourself for the moves that actually matter. But only if you have the discipline to wait, watch, and act only when the ocean itself is moving your direction. Most won't, will you? So here's my challenge to you. Stop trading for the next week. Just watch. Study the market's primary trend. Notice how individual stocks move with or against that tide. Ask yourself honestly, are you using a bucket shop compass in an ocean market? Livermore spent years and multiple fortunes learning these lessons. You just got them in 12 minutes. Will you apply them? If you're serious about understanding Livermore's complete methodology, you need to read Reminiscences of a Stock Operator by Edwin Lefebvre. This isn't just a trading book. It's the greatest education in market psychology and speculation ever written. Every lesson cost Livermore real money. And for those who want to see how Livermore eventually mastered the market, watch this video next on his 5-star setup system. If this changed how you think about trading activity versus trading achievement, hit that like button. Subscribe for more deep dives into legendary trading lessons. Drop a comment. Which of these 3 fatal errors have you been committing? I read every comment. Remember, this video is for educational purposes only. This is not investment advice. Livermore's lessons came from real losses and required years of study and discipline. Always do your own research. Never risk more than you can afford to lose. And understand that trading involves substantial risk of loss.